Hello and welcome back to the Bad Ideas Garage. This is Steven, and right here I have a 2020 Dodge Charger. So I've been spending a lot of time with the toxic MOPAR group in the mid-Willamette Valley, and they have Chargers and Challengers, but this is actually the first time that I've driven one. They'll probably be a little perturbed that the first time that I'm actually driving one of these is in a V6 base model rental car. However, after driving it for the day, I'm actually really impressed. And so in this video today, I'm going to be taking it for a drive. I drove it for about 3 hours today and giving me a little bit of thoughts on why this is actually a really good car if you're looking for something that's inexpensive and fun to drive. We're going to start in the inside of this vehicle because, as you can tell outside, it is very, very wet. The first thing that I noticed when I hopped into this car is that this is a very comfortable seat. I've driven this car exactly 1 mile so far, and the seat is just surprisingly comfortable. This car is also extremely wide. So what I'm going to be doing today is that I'm going to be driving the car about an hour each direction up to the Portland area and back. We're down here in the mid-Willamette Valley. This is the rental spec, which means that it has base model everything, and it's not bad. So that's what we're going to be talking about on my drive up to Portland today. Hope you enjoy the video. So I've never actually driven one of these. The more I think about it, I drove a 2015 Scat Pack Challenger, which was lots of fun. Had the V8. This one obviously has the V6. And so I do actually recommend these cars if you are looking for something that is, it's a sedan and it's going to work for you. There are some problematic areas. Some of them have not so good engines, but these later ones, if you want something that's inexpensive, that's going to have some nice amenities and it's just going to work, it's going to be comfortable, these are really good choices. Okay, initial driving impressions. Just driving through my town. There are a couple potholes here and there. This is very soft suspension. So again, I do recommend these cars just because they just work, but the suspension is very soft. It's meant to give you a comfortable ride, and even getting onto the freeway here, it's got plenty of power, and it's just very nice and very smooth. Even on this really nasty day that we have here in Oregon, it's really nice. Okay, tried to merge onto the freeway here, and gosh, I gave it just a little bit of throttle, and that was more than enough. Of course, I was immediately looking to go put on all of my, heated accessories and such, but I couldn't find, you look at this touch panel, and there just isn't really anything, and there's just a couple of buttons. I do like that they have actual physical buttons for the climate control. However, I'm like, oh, well, it'd be really nice if I had heated seats, and I really like heated seats, but they're on the screen. So I know that a lot of manufacturers, and probably it makes sense from a manufacturing point of view, that you get rid of touch buttons and you put them into one centrally controlled touch screen. Believe it or not, as a base model, this car has both vented and heated seats, so that's pretty cool. I can also see how this could be utilized by manufacturers, and I read an article recently that I think it was Audi that did this, that manufacturers could have you pay extra for a subscription to certain features in a car, which don't really like that, but I know that it's going to happen. So I remember my friend Joe said that I should rent one of these at some point, and I'm glad that I finally did years later, because this is extremely smooth on the freeway. It's just very quiet, very comfortable. I don't think that this has the adaptive cruise control, which is too bad, like the last rental that I had, but it's still really nice. This one does have the, I think it's the 8-speed automatic, and it has no problem shifting in between whichever gear that I needed to get. And yeah, I'll check in just a little bit. Yeah, it is not very good weather out here. It's been like this the entire trip. Okay, so I've been driving for about 45 minutes, and as expected, this car is a phenomenal road trip car. It's very quiet in here. I found out that this also has a heated steering wheel, which is great. I've been doing the freeway speed. No problems with passing, really good power. According to the trip computer, I'm also getting about 28 miles to the gallon, which is pretty good because this is a larger car. It does feel big. It still feels big inside of the lanes. There are some grooves in the road, and there's a little bit of standing water, and I really hardly notice it. A couple times where I'm having a hard time kind of staying in the lane, but the grooves are pretty big because Oregonians like to run their studded tires for a long time. That's a another conversation for another time. A lot of this is just in this nasty weather. It's just doing a great job. So, you know, we're in kind of a traffic-y zone, and where the speed, it's going to the speed limit of the freeway, and then slowing down to like 40, and we're kind of going back and forth, and this is just phenomenal. I've been playing with a couple things in here. The screen, I think it's called Uconnect, is really fast. It has CarPlay, which is really cool. The screen's a little bit small because it's got this border around the outside that you know, displays like, oh, your heated steering wheel are on and your heated seats are on, and that's one of the disadvantages, I guess, of moving everything to the screen model, is because you have to have this you know, ring around the outside of the screen that gives you all that information. It has all the other touch points. And then the actual screen part of itself, it's small, but it's really crisp. It's also a very fast system, so I can transfer between my audiobook in ways, you know, in a half a second. It's really nice. One weird thing about this is that it was getting really hot in here, and I couldn't figure out why. And it doesn't tell you the temperature that this is set to at all. Like, you'd think that it would give you like any sort of temperature, even if it's not automatic climate control. Nope, not this car. I just kind of set it halfway in between the blue and the red, and hopefully that is comfortable. This is an interesting kind of a last hurrah of American full-size sedans. I guess Ford phased out theirs with the Crown Victoria with the P71. I think that the last year of that was, what, 2010? Chevy has their Impala, but it's a front-wheel drive. So the rear-wheel drive, full-sized family sedan. This is kind of the last hurrah for the Americans. I've been getting to know this a lot more because there's a local group around me called Toxic MOPAR, and of course, you know, all the ones that they have are almost what I think all of them are. They're all, you know, the V8. They're all modified. And those are really cool. You know, they're really high performance V8s, supercharged, and they make some pretty noises, and they do a lot of really cool things in the community. So it's been cool to kind of get to know the MOPAR scene a little bit, even though it's not really been my scene before. They're a cool crew. And that was kind of the realization where I'm like, I don't think I've actually, besides that Challenger, I don't think I've ever driven a Charger before. So that's what we got here. So far, thumbs up. Get the Pentastar, so the 3.6 liter V6, and something relatively modern. I think it'd be a really nice car. Americans, and a lot of people, quite frankly, are obsessed with SUVs. So if you can live with having a large sedan instead for your transport, I think that'd be a really good way to get a lot of car for the money. The amount of features that you get is really good, especially since this is the base model. I still feel like there's a lot of stuff in here. There's a couple of weird touch points that are just like really hard plastic, particularly this turn signal stock feels like it's going to fall off. But then you have these really nice gauges, and you know, the seats feel really nice, and you know, everything else feels okay. But I think that this is just a lot of car for the money. The handling, I get why people say what it is, because this thing is just, it is pretty floaty. Does it really matter for a daily driver? No, it doesn't. The Challenger that I drove, I think that he had some suspension work done to it. And on top of that, because that is an actual sport-oriented one, it was the Scat Pack, that felt like it handled way more than this. This is just very floaty, very lofty, very let's get to that turn whenever. It's probably something that I would eventually get used to be honest. But for daily driving, this would be a fine car. I imagine that these are going to get so inexpensive at some point, because they made lots of different variations of it, that it's going to be even more of a bargain than it is now. The Chrysler version, the 300, very similar car, had a couple different options, and there's actually an SRT version of that, which someone in my hometown has that, and it sounds like it's lots of fun. All right, I have arrived to the city of Portland, and now that I'm stationary, I kind of want to run through a couple things about the features of this Dodge Charger. And it's a base model, but there are a lot of surprisingly nice features, and then there's a couple of weird things. So I'm gonna run through those right now. There we go. And I know it's not much, but hearing the, I know it's not the V8, but I thought I'd give that to you anyways. I absolutely love this gauge cluster. It gives a lot more, I guess, sporty tinge to this car. You have some nice things, like it says, you know, Dodge Charger over there, which is pretty cool. And then, you know, this screen has kind of like that, the graphic in the back, which makes it seem a little sporty. I really like the shifter. It makes it seem like it's nice and sporty. Look at that, Dodge Brothers. That's pretty cool. Designed in Detroit, so that's awesome. And then of course you have the, you know, the Dodge symbol. But at the same time, you have like some of these plastics that are on here. It's just, I don't know. It does not feel like it's higher end, particularly this the turn signal stock and windshield wiper stock. It just, all this stuff just feels like it just doesn't feel very nice. That's not too picky for me personally, but I know that some people would probably care about that. This gauge cluster does have a lot of nice things in it. So this gives you all sorts of really cool information. I really like that it tells you your exact tire pressure. I mean, I think that this is pretty cool. You can take a look at this while you're driving safely, of course. So I got almost 30 miles to the gallon. That's almost exclusively me driving, and I was driving 65 miles an hour. The speed limit here in Oregon, and then about 40 in a couple places with traffic here in the Portland area. So that's pretty awesome. You have a trip info if you want it. There's a trip A and a trip B. There's a media message when I was listening to my audiobook, no messages. You know, there's all sorts of fun things that you can do with what you can do in here, which is really awesome. So yeah, pretty happy with that. That's almost a surprising thing for a car that's pretty basic. I like that you still have a push-based parking brake down there. So yeah, that's pretty fun. But really basic things like, you know, popping the trunk and your you know, all your lights display. You do get you know, one touch auto down for your windows. Of course, it has power door locks and such. This also has remote start, which is pretty cool. And you can also open up the back. And then this has memory seats, so not even my Mazda has this, so I really like that there's memory seats that are in there as well. Over here in the screen, so this is the Uconnect. I do really like the Uconnect screen because all of this is just really, really quick. You can press between each one of these things, and it's very fast. Okay, there we go. Okay. Sorry, that was a little loud. Dodge does put on the back, you can see that there's some audio controls, and I couldn't remember how to do that. As I was mentioning earlier, is that on some of these screens, particularly when you're on the CarPlay, there's actually a hovering around here that to be able to display like you know, these buttons and to display the climate control. Part of that is because this is a very simple system, and there's not a lot of buttons here, and so they have to move it somewhere. So that actually changes the way that this is set up. So I'm going to plug in my phone, and you can see that it has to have all of this space on the outside because of the way that this is all set up. Because there's no buttons down here, they have to put them somewhere. So that's where that went. Awesome. Okay, so I haven't really played around with the internal screen function. The CarPlay does work really well. The seat controls, this is kind of annoying that these are here and they're not actual buttons, but again, heated and ventilated seats, that works really well. Climate control, there's just no temperature there, which is kind of weird, but it works just fine. I was able to mess with that. The radio is fine. Speaker quality is okay. But I do like that you do have some manual controls here. So if you do want to mute really quickly, you can do that. You can turn on the volume and then turn up the fan and adjust the climate controls very quickly. So I do like that. A couple other things that are in here is that you do have your charging port that's in here. So there are 2 charging ports, which is pretty cool. And then for these seats, sorry, my backpack's in the way here, but these seats, the material is actually really nice. These are very firm seats. They have some nice bolstering to them, but they're very comfortable. Off the car, the seats moves back automatically. I always think that that's kind of corny, but I know that some people really like that. And let's take a look at the back. Oh, it's got heated seats and USB ports. That's pretty nice. Really nice and roomy. No storage. Cool. There we go. Nice and big. It's actually huge. Oh, battery. Okay, that's pretty cool. Spare tire. Just gonna roll onto the freeway. Let's straighten out because, oh, you turn, it tips. Yeah, there goes my camera. Okay. Okay, that's all the way down. Oh, okay, okay. That actually, yeah. Once you get some space to actually put your foot down, it goes. Transmission had to choose between a couple gears there for a second, but wow, that actually was really surprising. Definitely did not feel very sure-footed whatsoever trying to do a little turn onto the freeway there. But once we're in a straight line, this is actually really fast. So after driving it for just about all day today, I still haven't really gotten used to how big the car is. I daily drive a Mazda 3, and it's of course not nearly as big as this. It doesn't feel so big though that it's hard to manage. In and out of traffic, it felt really good for how big the car is in terms of the amount of leg room and rear passenger room and boot room. This is actually really not that bad at all in terms of the width of it. I just still haven't gotten used to it. The engine power, really like it. It's really good. According to this, I'm still getting over 30 miles a gallon, so I guess that's good. Brakes. So I'm not sure if it's because this one has 50,000 miles on it or whatever it is, but the brakes in this car just don't really feel like they're strong enough for the car. A couple times where it's just like I'm slowing down for a stoplight and I'm like, oh, I have to put a lot of foot pressure into this. So yeah, that was really interesting on the brake front. These are vibrating a little bit, but again, that might just be because the car is it's a little bit heavier, but overall driving impression is positive. I'm not sure that I would necessarily go out of my way to buy one, but if I daily drove this car every single day, I'd be fine with it. So that's all my thoughts on the Dodge Charger and Challenger. So
New or used, I think these cars are incredible values. You can get one of these modern V6s that has almost 300 horsepower, comes with a lot of features, and still gets near 30 miles to the gallon, or you can get any of the V8 models and have a ton of fun.